So this is take two. We are using the Osmo Action, original Osmo Action, looking out the windshield. And we are using the Osmo Action 4K, or Osmo Action 4, inside the car. I'm in the 2024 Clubman. We're just gonna go for a quick spin. I just wanted to kind of test this out and see how it works. I ran into some issues with the last driving video where my blinker and the sound of my blinker and my microphone and the actual like road and where I was turning like didn't align and looked kind of funny. So I'm just gonna take this for a spin, see how it works. I'm using the Osmo Mic TX connected to the Action 4, which is the camera that's looking at me. And then, like I said, the regular Osmo Action is looking outside. I'm recording in 4K 30 on that, 4K 60 on this, which shouldn't matter. So, looks like they're gonna do races today. So we live by a dirt track. They do sprint car races and stuff like that sometimes. So, check that out later. So today is the last Saturday of the month, July, end of July. I don't know the date off the top of my head, but anyway, I was actually hoping to do a video today on installing some new shelves in my garage. I ordered a set of 4-foot long, 5-inch deep T304 stainless steel shelves from the Webstron store. I got 3 of them, and the idea is on the back wall of my garage, I'm going to do an 8-foot shelf with a 4-foot shelf under it, and I'm going to put all of my extra chemicals and stuff like that on it. The individual spray bottles, you know, the Armor stuff that I'm keeping, the Koshchemi stuff that I'm keeping. So I've been testing all of these different lines of products to find which ones I like and which ones I don't like. And you know, I tested like Koshchemi Blue, for example, and there were 2 products that I really liked: their glass cleaner and their interior cleaner. And then I tested a DIY detail, and there were a couple products there that I liked. And I tested Armor Detail Supply, and there were a couple products there that I really liked. So I just thought I need a little bit more storage, another place to put some more bottles of chemicals and stuff like that. So I looked at the ones that I have that are in the front of my garage that you've seen in the background of many of my videos. Those are from Obsessed Garage, and they are 4 feet long and 10 inches deep, 8 inches deep, 10 inches deep, one of the two. So they're a little bit deeper than what I'm getting here. Now, they have a lip on the back of them as well, but those are like $125 a piece, $130 a piece, and then shipping also wasn't cheap if I remember right. So I ordered, I don't know, 3 of them originally, and I like them. I think they're great shelves actually, but these would just be rarely used and don't need to be as deep. I don't need the backsplash on them, so I think that they could be a little bit less expensive. So we're going to test out these ones from Webstron store. Instead of them being $125 a piece, they were like $85 a piece. So a little bit less expensive. I spent like $300 shipped for 3 shelves. So they're like 80, and then I don't know, it's like $40 in shipping or something like that, plus tax and stuff. So it was a little over $300 shipped. So yeah, we're gonna test that out. We're gonna see how those are. We'll give you an honest review of them. Maybe they're as good as the OG ones that I have. I think that for like something that you're using again and again and again and again and again, like consistently, and putting bottles on and off of all the time, I think that you probably want the little backsplash, the little lip, just in case a bottle leaks or something like that. It gives you kind of a safety from it like running down the wall, if that makes sense. But we'll see. It's kind of going to go over the top of my TV and my pressure washer and all that on my back wall, and I think it'll look pretty good. 12 feet of shelf is a lot, you know, an 8 plus a 4. Most bottles are, I don't know, 3 inches wide. So I'm expecting that I'm gonna get like 16 bottles per shelf, which works out to about 50 bottles that I can end up keeping there. And just, kind of growing the collection of things that maybe I don't use all the time, but I use occasionally. Maybe I I guess what I'm finding is I'm testing these lines of products and going through an entire line, that I ended up maybe getting rid of something that might be a good comparison to the product that I'm currently testing, and then I don't have it on hand, and then I'm trying to like remember what it was like, and stuff like that. So I think that it might just be good to kind of keep some of this stuff longer term. And then, I'm also kind of selling stuff for a lot less expensive than what I'm paying for it. So I don't need to take a loss on everything, especially products that I like, if that makes sense. So here, we're going to go into the little grocery store here. I'm going to grab some gas really quick, and then I'll come back. All right. I think we're going to take the long way home. So, anyway, so I was planning on doing those shelves today, I was talking about, and FedEx never ceases to be able to screw up something that I'm planning. I don't know what it is, man. Like, I get a lot of packages. I get a lot of stuff from USPS. I get a lot of stuff from UPS. I get a lot of stuff from FedEx. And it's like every FedEx order is screwed up. They're always late. But the problem always ends up being, and I don't know how it happens to me, like consistently this particular way. Like, if a UPS package doesn't show up on a Friday, it gets delivered on Saturday. Specifically talking about Friday to Saturday with this. Same thing with USPS. If it doesn't come Friday, it comes Saturday. If it's Amazon, it might come Sunday. But FedEx distribution is owned by FedEx Corporate, but FedEx drivers, the actual drivers that deliver ground packages, are private contractors. So if you don't pay for weekend delivery and something doesn't make it on Friday, even if it's FedEx's fault, hey, our truck was late, hey, this is running behind schedule, hey, something happened, we had a mechanical failure, breakdown, whatever it may be, they will not deliver it Saturday. And I could understand, like, okay, if you don't pay for weekend delivery and something like and something is supposed to be delivered on weekend, well, then it gets pushed to Monday. Like, I can totally understand that. But if you have something that's supposed to be delivered on Friday and they screw up, and by they screw up, I mean they have a problem. It might not be an employee that actually screws up, but like something beyond their control. But if there's a problem, then in my mind, it should be delivered on Saturday if it can be. So I have a package that is at my local FedEx distribution facility in Santa Maria that will not be delivered today on Saturday because I did not pay for Saturday delivery and I can't go pick it up either. So now my Friday package that had an issue ends up being here Monday, which is mildly annoying. I don't need my shelves. It's okay. Like, I can wait. But now it's going to be a whole nother week before I have the time to do the installation. So that's all. But in the time that I found by not having my shelves to install, I decided that I should go and wash my cars. So I ended up today with 4 dirty cars, and I washed 3 of them today. Yeah, they're done. So I did all of the Action products. I tested all of their products. I did 3 cars with 3 different shampoos. And yeah, it's pretty cool. So the next line I'm going to do is Labro Cosmetica. Because I put a poll up and everybody kind of responded that they'd rather see Labro next, which is fine by me. The one thing that I might try to stick in the middle is Phoenix EOD, because Aaron from Phoenix EOD sent me a bunch of products to test out. It was very nice of him. Didn't have to do it. So I think that I should probably prioritize getting those videos done. But anyway, there's been a lot of people doing Phoenix EOD stuff lately, so maybe it would be good for me to wait a minute before doing it. So the setup seems to be working well. I don't know, I assume that the camera is picking up my audio pretty well, but I don't know for sure. It seems weird that like my bar, my voice, my sound bar is not like going up and down as much as I would expect it to when I like tap on the mic. So that's kind of weird, but I don't know, we'll test it. That's kind of the whole point of this. It's just a little BS video to see, you know, does this camera setup work? So this is a fun car. I like driving it. Certainly not a bad daily for after the Honda is gone. Still waiting on my ticket to come so that I can deal with my fix-it and see if I'm going to turn the Honda in early. Might not. We'll see. But yeah. So for the rest of the day today, like I said, all the cars are now clean, which is awesome. My tanks are refilling. They were almost empty. I'm waiting for... I'm going to go and work on some videos. I'm going to catch up on watching some YouTube stuff as well. There's been a bunch of stuff released this week. It's been another busy week following that CrowdStrike outage. That was last weekend. So we lost all day Friday and all day Monday at my company kind of dealing with that. So we ended up with like a 4-day work week with 5 days worth of stuff to do. So I got a little bit of work stuff to work on, and then yeah, just play around with some of this. I might come down later and check out the race. Actually, what I should do is fly the drone over it and get some drone footage of the race. That would be cool. Maybe I will do that. It's a good use of the drone. So yeah, and then I've been doing a bunch of yard work lately. See my 2 green waste cans outside here. Been getting rid of some bushes and plants and different things that we didn't really care for. You know, we've lived in this house for a while, but we've only owned it since the beginning of the year. So we've been kind of going through systematically now that it's our property, and just kind of one by one going through all the trees and bushes and stuff and figuring out what we want to keep and what we don't want to keep. Pump's running. I normally run this until I get to like 20 PSI in the tanks, which is pretty full. I don't fill it all the way. All the way is like 45-ish, 50-ish. It's about the most I can get. The source water is 80, and then you know, you have some losses because of the RO system, right? So I normally go to like 20 because that's enough to not... The more back pressure you have in the RO system, the more wastewater you end up creating in the RO. So let's see. Grab my memory card out of this camera. I had to get a bunch of micro SD cards because I only had 3 of them, and back in the day I used to use one camera that took the SD cards, so I would just kind of flip back and forth between them. So I had 3 256 gig cards, which is more than enough to grab a really big video or a whole day of filming. Now I have the 2 action cams and the drone and all the other stuff. So I got some, these are Lexar, they're V30 class. So I think their write speed is like 70 meg per second and their read speed is like 100 or something like that. So now I've got a bunch of extras. Yeah, okay, so my microphone is working. So yeah, this is where I was talking about with the shelves. They're gonna go right here. So I'm gonna do an 8-foot, well, basically 2 4s next to each other there, and then another 4 kind of here. So there'll be a 4-foot that kind of goes between this outlet and the TV. I'll just split the gap there, and then the 8-footer will end where this one does. So it'll be even, and that side will end where it ends, kind of. I don't know if I'm gonna do a second tier. I might do another 8-footer above it. We'll see, I don't know. It just depends on how much storage I end up needing. Like, I don't need to keep every single bottle forever. I wanna try to keep stuff off of that wall. It's already, like, there's bikes up there and stuff like that, but that's something that I could do later on in the future, is I could do something high over there. The problem is that this bay, it's not very deep, and you only have so much space around it. and you have to like try to get in and out of the car. So the bikes are fine because they're kind of over your head. But if I had a cabinet on the wall, you would need to be able to like stand underneath them, which means that they'd have to be high, kind of like this one is. So I don't know, maybe I could do some more MSS cabinets like these down that sidewall one day, but there really isn't a good spot especially without moving that bike, the Klein Attitude that's there. Because this one, like where the rail is, you wouldn't be able to get in there. But I don't know, there's a lot of stuff that I'd like to do. I want to convert these doors to high lift so that the rails are up and out of the way. Part of that is the jack shaft opener, which I did there. I will need to do one here. And I will eventually do one here. So yeah, it's like $500 to buy a jack shaft opener, and it's like, does it really change a whole lot for me? You know, does it really benefit me in a significant way? And it's like, well, it opens me up to be able to do high lift and to be able to have my lift in the center, the quick jacks and stuff like that, and work on that. But I already have a bay that I can do that now. So doing it over there is really just to get the app and the silence and you know, be able to have it be Wi-Fi controlled. I do like that just because, like, I don't know, sometimes you're driving down the road, you're going to work or something like that, and you're like, crap, did I shut the garage door? Well, you can look on your phone. It's kind of nice that you can do that. So what I have to do now is I have to look at the camera. But even if I look at the camera and that door is open, I can't do anything about it. I can't shut it remotely, you know. So, yeah. And then speaking of camera, I think I'm going to do another outdoor security camera just to get a better view of like the street and stuff. Right now I kind of just have my driveway and my property, mostly for mail theft is what I did it for. But we had an issue a while ago where one of the windows got smashed in the Scion XB by kids, and like I just couldn't see much that was going on out there. So that's something else I'd like to do. I'm also working on my sprinklers, so we'll circle back to that later on in the video because I got to buy more sprinkler solenoids. So I'll just install one on camera. Here's some footage of the dirt track and the race that was going on that night from my drone. Drone actually does a pretty good job of getting this, like I'm almost 100 feet in the air in these videos, and it looks pretty clear. So I really do like the drone, and I'm finding more uses for it as time goes on. These just came. These are shelves that I ordered, stainless steel shelves. They're 304 stainless. So if you're not familiar with my garage, this is your first time stopping by, I have these. Those are 304 stainless as well, and they're from Obsessed Garage. They are 48 wide by 10 deep, and I really do like those shelves. I think that they're excellent, and they work really well. What I was looking to do was put some shelves on the back wall, kind of over that TV, all the way across the back wall. To store some of the extra chemicals that I have that I've been testing or playing around with. Like I have a whole lineup sitting here, and there's some there, and they're just kind of all over my garage. So add some consistency. So I was looking for inexpensive shelves, and I wanted them to be 304 stainless still though, but I wanted to see what my options were. And there's a company online, Webstaurant Store. They're a restaurant supply store, and I've actually ordered things from them in the past. So I decided that I would place an order for these. So I ordered 3 shelves. We're gonna check them out here, see how they are, and then there's 3 of them here, so the other one must be in this box. Like I said, I'm not really feeling so hot today, so I'm just gonna unbox them here, see if there's any damage, and then we'll probably hang them on a different day, maybe tomorrow, if I'm feeling a little bit better. But those 2 look good. I ordered these, it's been 8 days, 8 physical days, not 8 working days. So I ordered them like last Sunday, and then they came today. It's Monday, so it's like 8 days. But here's what they look like. Let me remove the plastic from one of them so you can take a look at them. And what I kind of wanted to look at was, are these as good as or close to as good as the Obsessed Garage ones, the 304 stainless shelves that I have up there? because they're about 2/3 the price. Now, obviously this is a smaller size, but I don't think that you can get those in a 5-inch actually. And I didn't need anything that deep because I'm only going to do like a row of bottles. So unwrap it. Finish actually looks excellent, as you can see. All right, so here's what they look like. There's obviously a little bit of rubbing that happens in the box between the stainless and the edge of the box. I don't have any damage. I mean, you can tell there's a little bit of a mark there, like where it wore through the plastic. So I would say like the OG ones, they came kind of wrapped in saran wrap. So they were like in this and then also like wrapped in a bundle. So I didn't have any damage on those, but it's very minor. It's only in a couple spots. The top side looks very good. You can see the finish there is excellent. It is 304, like I said. They're stiff. I think that they could actually hold some weight, probably more than what I'm going to put on it. Well, a lot more than what I'm going to put on it, I would assume. One thing that's kind of nice, but also not, is these angle brackets are welded to the shelf. So I think that's definitely going to help with like rigidity, but it does make it so that you can't like, if you want to grab studs when you're screwing this in, you can't just position them anywhere that you want to. I'm sure given that these are, well, this is a 48-inch shelf, so that's also interesting. The spacing wouldn't be right for there to be 3 of these on here, or 4 of these on here. Because 48-inch, 16 on center, they would have to be at the edges. So this wouldn't work to grab studs anyway. So you're going to need to hang these with something like Tapcons or lags into something, or have blocking in the wall or something along those lines to be able to hang them. That is one of the nice things about the OG shelves, is that the brackets are separate. So you can actually take those brackets and put them on your studs where they are and then bolt through that. But I think the finish is good, and I think for what they are, it's a good value. So just some minor differences there. So we're going to work on getting these hung up. We'll show them on the wall, and I'll show you what they're all about. So yeah, I mean, these being welded in is going to make the attachment a lot sturdier. It's kind of cool. But, you know, like I said, downside, you're not going to be able to, you know, put them on your studs. These brackets are short, but it's only a 5-inch shelf, so that shouldn't be a problem. I'm not going to put a lot of weight on them anyway. They're nice and straight. I don't see any bends, kinks, marks, anything like that. Everything looks good on all 3 of them, that is. Just kind of briefly looked over these when I pulled them out of the box. That one looks good. And then this one here is the first one. That looks good as well. They are boxed on the edges, so they're not welded, but they do touch on the corners here. So because the front edge is rolled, the back edge is bent, like that to me means that it's not going to get tweaked in packaging nearly as easily, and it should support more weight. Now again, I'm just putting a couple bottles of chemicals, detailing supplies on these shelves, so I don't need them to be incredibly sturdy. I don't need them to hold 300 pounds. I just need them to hold a couple of bottles. Honestly, something like this is probably going to hold 16, 17 bottles, so we're talking maybe 20 pounds total, if they're all, assuming they're all 16-ounce bottles, and they all weigh about the same as a bottle of water. Some might be a little bit more, some might be a little bit less, some might be empty or slightly empty. So this is my Eufy X8 Hybrid, which I've talked about before. And I had a problem with, this is a side brush, so this is a robot vacuum. So this side brush goes down like this, it grabs stuff that's on the side, and I've got like a skipping gear in here. You can hear it. So basically, these gears, the teeth are kind of like bent to the right a little bit, and it's just causing it to skip under pressure. I honestly am not upset about it. I've owned this thing for 2 years. It runs twice a day, every day. I don't think that they owe me anything. I bought a new motor. It was $20. Just reach out to Eufy support. Eufy is owned by Anker. Anker makes like charging products. So they sent me a new motor, which arrived today. So just kind of putting this back together, but I really like this thing, honestly, this Eufy. It's, you know, I know there are other robot brands out there, Roborock and Roomba, and, you know, lots of other brands exist. I've always liked Anker products. I've always found them to be good, whether it's their chargers, their charging blocks, their cables, their, you know, variety of things that they make. They make lots of different products. And I've had, you know, good luck with them over the years. So I bought this kind of on a whim. It was, I want to say it was Prime Day 2 years ago. And, you know, I've had really good luck with it. So I did decide to fix it versus just replacing it. I know, you know, in our world, sometimes these things are like, they're so cheap, might as well just replace them. But this is like a $400 vacuum, so being able to spend $20 on a motor is kind of nice. So we're just putting this back together. This is one of those jobs that's super nice to have the surge for. It's been a while since I took this apart, so I'm trying to like remember where all the screws go and stuff like that. So screw that back in, and then this motor just kind of plugs in here to this board. So yeah, like I said, I mean, I will say the support experience was a little clunky because they have a lot of parts on their website, but for whatever reason, this part, the side motor for this particular vacuum, is not on their website. But the side motor for other vacuums is. So it was kind of weird to me that like I couldn't find this particular part that I needed. So then I went on their like chat function of their website, and somebody responded to me and they're like, oh yeah, I'll send you, it's $20, we'll send you a link or whatever. Well, and then I get an email, and the email is like, can you tell us what part you're looking for? And it's like, well, I already told the guy in the chat. Anyway, it was a little clunky, but then you end up PayPaling them the money, and then they sent the part and it arrived. I didn't get shipping information, but the part just showed up a couple days later. So anyway, I took this part on Sunday, received the parts today. So on this board, there's like a plug here and a plug here. I've got 2 cables that I have to plug back in that just kind of like communicate between the top and the bottom. This is for the laser guidance thing, and this is for like, I don't know, it looks like 2 sensors or something like that. So kind of plug this in. So other things I've got going on, my shelves arrived, I got those installed. That was super cool. I like those a lot. It definitely made me realize like how many products I have, and maybe that I end up needing more shelves than what I thought that I did. So that's something too. So the app knows where it is, and it'll kind of update as it's going. So it says right now it's room cleaning. You see this white dot, that's the vacuum itself. So it's going to go out, and it'll go all the way into my kitchen. It's pretty delicate. So like those, you know, flamingos that are sitting there, you see that it like will kind of lightly bump them, but not really, you know, knock them over or anything like that. And then it'll just go through and do the whole room. One thing that's kind of cool about it is it'll go on the edge of the room, but then it'll do straight lines. The lines are like nice and straight, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, rather than it being kind of like chaotic and all over the place, like a lot of robot vacuums are. So it does a good job. And then I just get up every morning and I, you know, empty it, make sure it's good. All right, so it's been about an hour, and we'll see that Eufy's actually back here. So it shows here on the screen that it ran for 46 minutes. It did 548 square feet. So it got through these 2 lower rooms. And then it started on this 3rd room, but the battery was low, so it came back here to charge up. So what this will actually do now is once the battery charges back up, it's going to jump off and it's going to finish the job that it started. So it'll get that last room done, it'll get this room done, and finish the hallway. But it's been about a week since I've run this, and I have 2 dogs. And I'll just show you like the surprising amount of stuff this picks up in this little dust tray here. So let's pop this open, and it's like there's just a blob of dog hair and dust, and it's just it really does a great job. And I will say that when I first started out using this, it's almost like it creates its own dust. Like I had a vacuum that I used and liked every single day. It was I actually still have it. It's an Auric bagged vacuum, which is, I don't know, it's around here somewhere. And that vacuum worked really, really well, I thought. But then I started running this, and it was like it picks up all this stuff. So we can see kind of like the lines, get an idea of what I was talking about, where like they're very straight back and forth. Obviously can't see anything here. And then this room it didn't do yet. And then it has like there's a mopping attachment too. And this wasn't meant to be a commercial for Oofy. If I was shopping right now, I'd probably check out Roborock as well. And I would look at the Oofys that empty themselves and kind of compare and contrast. I have a friend that owns a Roborock and is really happy with it. But anyway, so yeah. So almost done working. Check these out. I got my melon hats back. So this is the royal blue. This is the red. These are special edition colors. So now I have just more colors of my melon hats. I'm up to like 10. So I buy these from Melon directly, and then I get them embroidered by a local shop. They do a fairly good job. It's Baxter. For some reason, I decided to pick up a random Lego kit. It's a Porsche race car. Just, I don't know, something to screw around with. So I decided to build that this afternoon while also watching some random YouTube videos and getting caught up on some other creators that I follow. What's up, guys? Monday the 5th. Just taking a quick lunch break from work. So I got a bunch of boxes and stuff in the last couple days, and I haven't really opened a lot of them yet because I like to do that on camera. So I ordered this. This is Geon Prep, and I've had Geon Prep before. I've used it in videos. It's actually a great product. It works really well. Geon Prep would be like a CarPro eraser. It's a panel wipe product. So I actually have a bottle of it right here. It's this unlabeled pink in the middle there. So I don't know, some of you follow, some of you don't, but long story short, California changed the VOC compliance rules for what's allowed to be imported, and car prep products or panel wipe products ended up getting classified under like a glass cleaner instead of being classified under like a body shop products or something along those lines. There's some change that happened in the classification. So it made it so that CarPro Eraser, Geon Prep, and a bunch of other of those products are no longer compliant to be sold in the state of California, which created some problems with importing stuff. So when that happened, I had a gallon of eraser already here. I tested out Geon Prep. I unfortunately just couldn't get eraser all of a sudden. So I tested out Geon Prep. I found that it worked well. Then I ordered a spray bottle, or I ordered a gallon of it. So I have a gallon of Prep in there. But they released a new version of Prep called Prep Redefined. And this is like one of the, I don't know, negatives maybe about what I do and how I do it and all of that. When I find a product that I like to buy a large quantity of it so that I don't run out of stock, right? So I really like GSF as a snow foam, Kosh Chemi GSF Gentle Snow Foam. So when I found that, I bought a couple gallons of it. So like I had an open gallon and an unopened gallon. I like to have, if I'm using something in a large quantity, I like to have an opened and an unopened of whatever quantity I normally use. So in this case, a gallon or a 5-liter bottle. But now I get all these test products, and then I don't really use the products that I normally like, if that makes sense. So all this to say, like, I have a gallon of prep in there that's completely unopened. Haven't even touched it yet. I still have some eraser on the shelf, and I just got this. But that's because I have DIY detail panel wipe, Armor Detail Supply panel wipe, and I have Gorillaz Garage, and I have White Diamond. So there's like 4 different panel wipes that are sitting up on the shelf right now, plus some products I haven't even tested yet. So maybe I should just stop buying gallons altogether, because I have more than enough stuff to keep me going. I don't know. These are first world problems, I realize that. I got some grass seed. I have to go out and overseed the side lawn a little bit. My auto fiber monthly rag showed up, and I really do have to start testing some of these. This is a quadrant wipe. Interesting. Designed for the coating level and excess removal, printed with numbers 1 through 8 on each quadrant so that you can keep track of each side used for coating leveling. Interesting. This is a 390 GSM edgeless terry pile towel. It's like my Pearl, kind of. So that's cool. If you're not familiar, this is a monthly subscription service. It's like $35 a month, and you get a box that contains somewhere around $50 worth of detailing supplies. In my experience, it's been hit or miss. It's cool. Like, if you want to try out new products and you want to do something like what I'm doing, playing with new stuff all the time, this is actually a cool way to do it, and it helps to save you some money. But sometimes you can run into situations like I have in the past, where you get products that you already have, or you get products that you don't like, or you get products that are old. So like I got one of these recently that had G-Technic XO V4, but V5 had already been out for like a year. So first off, air freshener right on top. Next we have a big one, which is a waffle weave 25 by 40 towel from the Rag Company. That is a nice towel. I've used it before. We've got a wash mitt. This is from Auto Fiber. Looks fairly nice. Then there are 2 bottles in here. This is BioWorks Natural Auto Soap, bio-based, plant-derived, non-toxic, highly concentrated, 256:1, pH balanced, biodegradable, safe on skin. This one is all-purpose cleaner concentrate, highly concentrated, 128:1, safe on all automotive surfaces. And then here is a foam cannon from Action Products. And it's funny because I actually had this foam cannon. Remember, I tested out Action Products. The video actually released yesterday, but I tested Action Products in July. And when I bought the soaps, it came with a foam cannon, and then my dad was here visiting and we were talking about a bunch of stuff, and he mentioned needing a second foam cannon for wheel cleaner, and I just tossed him the foam cannon, but I actually hadn't used it yet. I bought it from Action Products when I got the soap. I bought like a kit, but the foam cannon was like super, super cheap, so I didn't really care. Not cheaply made, actually it's made pretty well. It's got a brass head on it, big mouth. So here's the tank. It's a 1 liter. It's got measurements on the side from 100 to 1000. Here is the suction tube. There's a little screen on the bottom. It's not weighted, so that's one thing I don't really love about it, is it's when you tip it back, it's gonna not suck up stuff, depending on where you have this pointed, of course. But the head is brass. It's got a big mouth, decent threads. You can tighten it up nice and tight. There is a breathing hole here. It is not one way, so when shaking it, or it will leak upside down. We'll test this all out. And then here's a foam adjustment on the top, and then there's direction here. Or no, there is no direction. It only does vertical. There is no horizontal. Plug on the back of it. That's kind of nice. Always nice to have more foam cannons. Not that I need them, I already have 4 or 5, but sometimes you have like a soap or something like that in one of your cannons. You want to try out a new soap, and it's like, I don't want to dump this out, but I'm not quite, it's not empty yet, you know? So anyway, back to first world problems, right? I have too many soaps for all of my foam cannons. Like, it's a little ridiculous. But right now I have one of them that's full of like a household cleaner that I used when I was, my roof gets like this green or white dry moss on the backside of my house. So I have one that's full of like an all-purpose house cleaner that I was using. I have one that's empty over there. I have the MJJC Foam Cannon Pro that has decon in it. My MTM has wheel cleaner in it. My Griot's has something else in it. I honestly forget what's in it, but it's purple. So that's something that I have to get better about too, is like labeling these bottles when I'm filling them up so that I can come back in a week and remember what was in them. So get rid of this trash. This is something I'll be messing around with a little bit on camera. This goes into the household stuff. Maybe you're interested, maybe you're not. It'll probably actually be on this video, but these are 1-inch sprinkler valves. So I have like 7 or 8 sprinkler valves on that side of the house, and I've got 2 or 3 of them that are leaking. I've got 1 or 2 that don't turn on, so I'm just gonna replace them all kind of one at a time. What's weird about the design on these, you see how they're shaped like a horseshoe? See the back? The bottom of them's threaded, but the PVC that it's connected to, like there's no way to spin it because it's solid. So you end up having to like screw these in and then cut the PVC off and then glue fittings together. So you end up having to get like a coupler like this. So this threads into the bottom of the unit. This coupler goes in and then you put a piece of PVC in and you like glue it in place in one shot. But I'll show you that on camera. So these are like $1, these are like $1. That thing's like $20. So I think this whole box is like $65 or something, and I've got 3 of these in there and enough to do all of them. So another Amazon box with no packaging in it, as is typical. What's in here? Oh, this is from Carzilla. So this is another one. I want to open this, but I wasn't recording. It's like the one downside about having a YouTube channel. It's like you get the mail, and in order to open up your packages, you have to have your camera with you. So these are hose couplers, MTM. I normally get those from OG, but I was placing an order from Carzilla anyway, so I just grabbed it. I got another bottle of Traceless because OG is out of it. I really like it. I tested it out. I really like it a lot. I'll do it on video, but it's a great, great glass cleaner. So grab the bottle of that. Here's a sprayer. Comes with that. And then this is a freebie. So Carzilla throws freebies in. Depending on how much you spend, you get 1 or 2 or 3 of them. This is Clarify Phobic. So we'll play around with that. And then these. I didn't know they made these. So I did a video on the press-all bottles, and I talked on that video about the Marilex sprayers and how much I like them, but how big they are. And somebody was like, well, they make a 500 milliliter Marilex bottle. And I was like, really? So they apparently make a 500 milliliter Marilex bottle, but nobody sells them. Like, I want to say my original one came from Clean Garage, but they don't have the 500s, and nobody else in the United States seems to. So I can't get them on Amazon or anything. So I got these from Carzilla, and these are 500 milliliter mini Viton sprayers. These Marilex sprayers are super sweet. So if they're anything like the 1 liter ones, they're gonna be great. And I ordered 5 of them. So I just got a 5-pack. It's one of those things that they weren't that expensive, but shipping costs money, especially with Carzilla because it's in Canada. So I just threw a couple in my cart. So I have 5 of these here. And we'll play around with them a little bit more. I'm gonna try to come up with a label for them, like I did for my press-all bottles. See if I can make them look cool. And then I also ordered 2 of these. These are Quasar sprayers. I've never used one before. This is the Quasar Professional Mercury Super. Again, 500 milliliter. And I ordered 2 of those. Shelves are pretty sweet. Gives me a really good idea of what I have. I'm thinking about putting another row up above that, going one more higher. And what I would probably do is put all of the taller bottles, the Built Hambler and the Kosh Chemi stuff on that top shelf. Technically, in my HOA, you cannot wash your car in the driveway. I'm working on getting that removed. So when that gets removed, I'll feel a little bit more comfortable about this, but I reached out to a couple neighbors already about washing their cars for them. basically to have more test subjects for content. I need some dirty cars. I also picked this up. This is a pre-filter for my Aquasure, my water softener. So I'm getting like a chlorine taste a little bit here and there, just a little tinge of chlorine, and chlorine isn't great. So this is a pre-filter that's supposed to remove chlorine, specifically chlorine. So I'm gonna try to install that as well in front of my water softener over there, just to see if I can reduce some of that chlorine taste. So today apparently I'm a refrigerator repairman. So I have this mini fridge. It is from Pepsi. It was given to my parents for their restaurant, and it was a promotional thing. It's actually a Rockstar fridge. And they weren't using it. They gave it to me, and it started acting up where it just suddenly wasn't getting cold. And it turns out that there was a fan that's up here. Like this whole section gets cold, but the fan is bad. So I got a new fan for it. This is an AC fan, and I'm working on installing that. I will say I had the stupidest interaction on Facebook Marketplace. I posted in, well actually it was in a group. So I posted in a Facebook group. There's like a local Facebook group for where I live, like most places have. And I was like, mini fridge, free, doesn't get cold, but runs, and you know, could be repaired, whatever. And this one guy, he starts off commenting about like, oh, you're just trying to get away, or to get somebody to haul away your junk. And I'm like, no, it's you know, it's a commercial fridge, and these are repairable. They sell parts for them. Somebody might be interested in repairing it, and if they're not, then I'll haul it away and I'll get rid of it at the you know, the local junkyard. So then, like, he's somehow asking the California homeless for parts and calling them on their Obama phones. Like, I'm like, congratulations, you somehow turned this post for a free refrigerator into something political. Like, man, I don't get people. Anyway, so I wasn't planning on fixing this. I was actually just planning on giving it away. But this whole thing happened, and I thought, well, let me take a look at it and see if I can fix it. And then also, our big fridge froze up again. So I've talked about that before. We have this Samsung fridge, and it was here when we moved in. So, I mean, it's probably, I don't know, 15 years old, close to it, something along those lines. Samsung has these issues with the ice makers that go bad, so I've replaced the ice maker in it, and then the back of it freezes up, so I've defrosted the fridge, I don't know, half a dozen times at this point, and that requires you to like take the entire thing apart and disassemble it and, you know, do all this work to kind of fix it. And I just did it a couple months ago, or I guess it was like a month ago, and it worked fine for like a week and a half, and then same thing, it's all frozen up again. So I don't know if it's got a bad defroster or what it is, but we ended up just buying a fridge. So that fridge is going to be here on Saturday. Also bought a washing machine that will be here Saturday as well, because we have a Maytag washing machine, which I honestly really like it. It works very well. We've had it for about 7 years. But there's an issue. It's got a bad bearing, and the bearing is just noisy. It still works just fine. It's just noisy. So we're going to give that to TAC, actually wants it. All right, there we go. So we're going to let this run for a bit. We're going to put the thermometer in it, and we're going to monitor the temperature. We want it to be like in the mid 30s, and then we'll go from there. But at this point, it's all back together. The fan's running. I'm getting cold now, which is great. And yeah, I think that we're going to use this temporarily to facilitate our new fridge. And then also, I'll end up probably throwing this on Facebook Marketplace and selling it. So I guess my lesson for today, folks, is if you're in a Facebook group, don't be an idiot. Just, you know, if you're not interested in buying something, there's no reason to comment on it. didn't. Unless you're saying, hey, it's nice, good luck for sale, you know, something along those lines. But if you're just cutting down something that somebody else is selling, there's no reason for that. In this case, I was giving this thing away for free. I just fixed it for $14. And yeah, and I realized that that one's 10 years old. But a commercial fridge like that, if you look at, you know, Beverage Air or True or one of those companies, they're $1,500, $2,000. Like, they're not an insignificant amount of money. So these are the screws that I use to put up the shelves. They came from Amazon. I'll put a link in the description, but they are number 10 by 2 inch because the screw holes on those are number 10. And they actually have, it's an 8mm head. So this is what they look like. They're full thread, and then they've got this hex head on them. And I find the hex head is a little bit easier because if you've got a tight area there, you can use like a wobble or a socket or a ratchet or, you know, something like that. Especially for like those shelves where the angle is kind of boxed on the front. But this box was pretty cheap. They're stainless steel, so they'll hold up. And yeah, so got a box of, I think this is 100. Obviously I still have a bunch left. Tekton released some more picks, so I got them. They now have a set of 10. So I already had 5. I think I've talked about those in the past. I actually replaced my Snap-on picks with these. So they have a hook, they have a right angle hook, they have 45, which is like that, they have a straight pick, it's like that, and then a 90. And those are kind of the common ones. So like if you order the 4 set of Snap-on, you get this one, this one, this one, and this one. So Tekton actually released a couple more, and they're cool, so I figured I would grab them and check them out, and they're relatively inexpensive. These are one of those tools that you use all the time, and they work really, really well. And buying a high quality set is definitely worthwhile. I've ruined cheaper sets a lot more often. The Snap-on ones tend to break because the metal is so hard. So when they fail, they break. This is like a pin tool for like releasing a clip. This one's like a 90 or 180 degree hook. This is a different 45 that's a little bit longer. This one's kind of interesting. It's like a grabber. So anyway, I just snagged them, check them out. They're relatively cheap. Tekton does rewards. I buy them all from Tekton directly. So put them in the drawer there. I like complete sets. I have this one from Snap-on that I actually broke. It's a 45. The tip is gone off of it. So I'll have to get another one of those. Snap-on at least replaces them for free. So does Tekton, actually. So there is an e-waste disposal site near me, and occasionally I'll take stuff there for work, and sometimes I'll happen upon something that is cool or usable or, I don't know, whatever. I'm not like Mr. Garbage Picker or anything like that, but when I see something that's interesting, I'll snag it. And one day I picked up these 2 QSC amps that were there, this GX3 and GX5, and they actually work perfectly. 0 issues. They're excellent. I swapped out the fans for quieter models because they are a little loud, and other than that, they've been perfect. So this is a Behringer amp. It's an iNuke NU4-6000. So it's like it's like 1600 by 2 at 2 ohms, and which is honestly an unrealistic number. And then, you know, that would be like 800 by 4 at 4 ohms and 400 by 4 at 8 ohms. And it's realistically not. It's probably like 200 watts per channel, maybe at most. And you can kind of see in here, it's hefty. It's got good cooling. But you know, there's no giant like power supply or anything crazy like that, but they are still good amps. And when you're talking about driving like normal speakers, something like this has tons and tons and tons and tons of power and lots of potential. So, you know, in my garage, I've talked about this before, I had a shit Vidar for a while. And then I picked up those QSC amps and I sold the Vidar. I might get a Vidar version 2 at some point. I like the Vidar a lot, but I wanted the standby button. The C658 I had connected to the GX5 and the GX3. The GX5 ran these speakers, And the GX3 ran those in ceiling speakers, and I have a pair of speakers in that other room that are just kind of like little bookshelves that are up on the top there. I was playing around with this crown amp, this XLS 1002, which is a Class D amp. I wanted to just kind of A to B back and forth between the QSC and the crown. Crown's a really good amp. And both are really good. They both sound excellent. Probably gonna keep the QSC long term. The GX5, I just like it a little bit more. But I thought that this might actually be a good replacement for that QSC GX3, because like I mentioned, I have that running 4 speakers right now, and I just have them in parallel. So these in the ceiling, these 8-inch speakers that are in the ceiling, and then in here I have, see that little Boston up there in the corner, So yeah, anyway, I'm going to mess around with a couple different things here, and I'm going to put that Behringer up here, and then I'm definitely going to sell the GX3. I don't know if I'm going to sell the GX5 or I'm going to sell the Crown. I'm going to keep one of them and sell the other. But the only problem with this Behringer is that the potentiometers are a little picky, kind of. Like, what I mean is, on the front there are 4 volume knobs, A, B, C, and D. I don't know why they don't just call them 1, 2, 3, and 4, but whatever. And when you play around with them, it doesn't really go up and down in a linear way. Like it's like it needs to be cleaned out or something like that. So, but realistically, like, that doesn't even matter to me, because this gets connected to a preamp like my C658 that's sitting up there, and that has the volume control. So these are more like set it and forget it. These are rack mount appliances. You turn them on, you turn them to whatever volume that they need to be, and they just run. So I don't really care if the volume knob works, as long as it outputs the same amount of volume on all 4 channels. And the knobs work well enough that I could get them all to be the same. And they're not like scratchy, like when you're turning it, you can't hear like clicking or popping or anything like that in the speakers. So I just thought, well, hey, this was free. And that's like, $200 sitting up there. So I'm probably going to use this, sell that, and I basically just got $200 for free. They're pretty equivalent in terms of like power output. QSC is a little bit better of a brand than Behringer is. Behringer's more of an entry-level brand. But what I'm using it for, I don't think that I would want this to be running my Don Audio Evokes that are sitting here. Like, it's not going to have the clarity and the control that the QSC amp does. But for the in-ceiling speakers and the speakers in there, which are more like a rear fill kind of thing, like, I don't know, like if I really want to listen to music, I just run this in 2-channel, and I just use the Dyn Audios, and I just listen to the Dyn Audios, and they sound excellent. If I'm like all over the garage, like if I'm cleaning or mopping or vacuuming or like doing things that are like I'm just kind of all over the place doing stuff, then I'll turn on all of the speakers and I'll just kind of let it like fill, and I'll listen to it at a lower volume from more speakers instead of listening at a higher volume from 2 speakers. Because with a room that's 30 by 30, when you crank up your one pair of speakers on one wall, it's like super loud when you're right on top of them, and then it's not very loud in that next room. So the reason I have the lid off of this, one, I wanted to clean it out, but then 2, I'm going to swap these fans out for something that's a little bit quieter. So I'm going to order 2 fans off of DigiKey. It'll be like $25, and we'll swap those out. These are and that's kind of something that you can do fairly easily. I mean, I did it for the QSC amp, and I kind of showed it on video, but I don't know, just did it quickly. I glossed over it. But so on these fans, you see that it says NMB, and there's a model number here, 3110KL-04W-B70. So we can look that number up online. Just Google it, and we'll see what the specs of that fan are. So this is DigiKey. There's the part number, and we can see that this is a 80 by 80. So that's the size of it, 80 long by 80 high. It's 25 millimeter width, which means it's 25 millimeters in thickness. The airflow is 45.9 CFM, and then the noise is 40 decibels. And then the other thing that we have to care about too is the voltage. It's 12 volt fan, because they make 5 volt fans, 12 volt fans, 24 volt fans. They make AC fans, all kinds of different stuff in between. So then what you can do is you can go here to fans on DigiKey, and they sell they have 23,000 fans. So I go to in stock, and that brings us down to 6,000 fans right out of the gate. And then we can start looking at, okay, so our width is 25 millimeter. And then we have a square fan that is 80 by 80. So we can say 80 by 80 right here. It's a 12 volt fan. And that brings us down to 177 options. And it's like, holy crap, that's still a lot. So I'm just looking at ones that are in stock. But now I can look at, okay, so I want to make sure that the fan is at least 46 CFM. So I think the old one was 45.9. Now, CFM is the amount of air that the fan moves. Obviously, you don't need it to move exactly the same amount of air. Like, you could probably do a 40, but in my opinion, it's like, I would rather just do a 46 or higher, because why not? The original fan is that. Maybe if they didn't have an option, I might trade off one thing for another. So 46 CFM or more. We are sorted by noise. So there are 2 fans that are 32 decibels. So 32 decibels, like I mentioned, the original one was a 40. You know, it's 8 decibels less. So it's going to be significantly quieter than what we have right now. And these fans are $10. Like, they're not expensive at all. I mean, this one's $7.81. It's 35 decibels, and it actually moves more air, 51 CFM. The one other thing that we want to look at too is this fan has 2 wires, not 3 wires or 4 wires. So over here where it says termination, we're going to choose 2 wire, and then we'll apply that as well. So now we're down to 20 results. So our first 2, I think one of these is going to be the winner. So what is the difference between the 2 of them? Well, this one is slightly less expensive at $10.93. This one's $14. They're actually both from the same manufacturer, the same series. They're both bulk packages. They're both square, 80 by 80. They both have 25 millimeter width. They both move 46 CFM. They both have the same static pressure, the same type of bearings, the same type of fan. So it looks like the only difference is that this one has a thermistor and this one does not. So let's open that up in a new tab, and we're going to go back to our original fan really quick. And I want to see, did our original fan have a thermistor? So yeah, our original one was a tube axial, and I don't see anything about a thermistor listed here. So a thermistor would be something that's actually measuring the temperature inside the fan and shutting it down and giving it protection if it gets too hot. And that makes sense. Like, the whole point of this is to be a cooling fan. So realistically, you wouldn't want it to shut down when it gets too hot. You would want it to always cool as much as possible. I'd much rather the fan fail than have the amplifier fail. So this one has auto restart and it has locked rotor protection. So that means that if you stick your finger in it or you stick something in it and it stops moving, it's not going to burn itself out, but it is automatically going to restart once whatever was in it gets moved out. It's 2800 RPM, 2 wire leads, 32 decibels. So we can add this to the cart, and it is of course a 12 volt fan. And then it will give us, so we can say I want 2 of these, and you can see actually you get quantity discounts when you buy more of these. So we're going to add 2 to cart, and then, oh, finger guard. Well, I don't necessarily need these. My amp has them, but if you look, they're all rusty. So I'm going to snag 2 of those too. They're only $1. $1.04 they are. So let's throw 2 of them on there. Add to cart. So we're going to pick these up from DigiKey. DigiKey is a cool site. They always have whatever I'm looking for on here. And you can get all kinds of different stuff. You can get fuses, you can get wiring and connectors and speakers and like all kinds of electronic parts. You saw when I pulled up fans, they had like 27,000 fans or some ridiculous number. They do charge for shipping, and it starts at about $6.99. But one thing that I really like is they give you the option to choose between FedEx and UPS. Yes, UPS all the way. So now I'm going to log in, we'll check out. Order placed, $32. Not bad, not bad at all. And obviously, like, it's kind of a nitpicky thing. It's a, $300 amp, but for $30, I can knock down the sound of this pretty tremendously. I could plug it in so you can hear what it sounds like. So you hear them. And they've got that, like, electronic buzz to them. Some other things I'm working on. I got to get this room painted. You can see the, I'm painted up to this area here. I have the paint. I just need to do it. I also have to paint the exterior of the house. That's something that's on my list that I need to get done. Did a bunch of eBay stuff this weekend. I will say, like, you want to deal with the most annoying people in the world? Throw an Xbox on eBay. My God. We got our new refrigerator and our new washing machine. They came this weekend on Saturday. I'll show you the refrigerator here. Pretty simple. This is a Whirlpool. We got it because it was simple. So, refrigerator side, freezer side. Ice maker works fairly well. I like the water dispenser is pretty cool. So you can go here, click measured fill, and then it'll do like 8 ounces of water in your cup. It's kind of neat. Nitpicky thing. I like that it does that, but you can't set, like, you can adjust the amount, but you can't set the amount. So I can't just walk up to it and hit dispense and have it dump 20 ounces of water instead of 8. The Samsung fridge I threw on Facebook Marketplace, it sold in like 2 hours for $100. Basically just to get out of here. It worked. It would have been a good, like, garage fridge for somebody. Then, washing machine. Like I said, we got another Maytag. I had a Maytag. I liked the Maytag. It worked well. This one's slightly smaller. So we went from a 5.4 cubic foot to a 4.8. So here it is. Simple. It works. It works well. The last one lasted us 7 years. And we did a lot of loads of laundry in it. Like, probably thousands. Because we had at one point 4 kids living here with us, which is probably a good 4 or 5 loads a week, plus rags, plus towels, plus bedding, plus everything else that you end up doing. Picked something up for the clubman, and I'm not exactly sure how I feel about it. So let me kind of show you what I got here and explain the why. So this is like a mat that goes against the back of the seat. The idea was I wanted to create something in this compartment that was enclosed in a way that it could protect the sides, the plastic, these pieces from like something that might be sliding around in here. Jessica regularly will be out and she might buy a plant or something like that, or I just end up at Costco and throw something big in the car. And I don't want the car to get all beat up. If you look at the back of the Honda, or I look at the back of my other Mini, I have scrapes on the inside of the hatch and on all of the plastic trims. So here's a good example of the scrapes that I'm talking about. And it just they get beat up, all of this. So I found this thing on Amazon that was supposed to be like a custom cut mat for the F54 Mini Cooper Clubman, which is between 2019 and 2024. So I thought, okay, it's LCI, it should fit this. So I ordered the kit, and it came with, there's a side here, which kind of Velcros in. Then there's a piece on the back right there. Then there's a piece on the back right there. There's like a little gap here that I don't love. And then there's like a gap here that I don't understand why it's there. Like, why didn't they extend this out? Same thing over here. There's a gap. Then there's like two pieces that I don't understand what they're for. There's this one that has the Velcro on it. There's just like an extra piece here that doesn't really fit any of these areas. So that doesn't make a ton of sense. And then there's another piece, which is this guy here, which I think is actually supposed to be this, but it's got a crease in it and it's also too short to be that. So I think that it's more like this, and it gives you that protection on the door. It does create kind of like a bowl, especially with this carpet mat. This carpet mat was made by Lloyd's Mats. I actually really like this. This is super nice. The color isn't a great match for this, so I'm going to try to get some mats for inside the car that maybe are a better fit, but you know, maybe this goes the other direction. If you've ever messed around with one of these or you know a better option, let me know. I mean, I'm looking for something that's kind of gonna, I don't know, it doesn't have to look perfect, but I would like it to be, you know, functional. And maybe the answer is that I just need to go to somebody who does upholstery for a living and ask them to make me something. That could be an answer too. This wasn't tremendously expensive, so even though I don't love the fit, I'm probably going to hang on to it. It also took like a month to come in because I ordered it from Amazon, but it shipped from China. So, I don't know. Sometimes with these types of things, no instructions, no information, it just kind of shows up and you're, you know, dealing with it. So that's not always ideal. These are speak-on connectors. I talked about the Behringer amp yesterday, so the fans haven't come in yet, but I ordered these yesterday. They're speak-on connectors. So when you get into like the pro audio stuff, you get into some weird connectors. So on the input side, normally they either use RCA, 1/4 inch, which looks like a big headphone jack, or they use something called XLR, which is like a round with 3 pins on it, sometimes 4 pins depending on which type of XLR it is. And then on the output side, sometimes there are speaker wires like normal 5-way binding posts. Sometimes they use 1/4 inch again on the output side as well. And sometimes they use a connector that's called speak-on, which is what this is. So this is a specialized connector that goes in, quarter turns, and it locks into place. And the Behringer only has speak-on terminals. Because it's a 4-channel amp, it doesn't have a lot of room on the back, so it can't give you a lot of options for connectivity. So these are speak-on connectors that can be attached. There are different terminals here. So it says 1+, 1-, 2+, 2-. These are actually a connector that can be used for stereo speakers if you need. There are actually 4 conductors in here. So we'll get these wired up on the speaker wire so that we can connect them to the Behringer. I tested them out with just a pigtail that I had that had a speak-on connector on it. So it's something that we're going to have to do later. And this is like, I don't know, a couple weeks worth of ordering. That mat for the car was a while ago. But so I also have this. This is it's an iPad mini. And I've had this thing for a long time, but I don't really use it all that much. It's not because I don't like it. I just don't use it all that much. So it tends to sit out here and charge. And then like if I'm working on a car and I need something that I can kind of reference, I'll use it. But I got an adapter to use this with my drone. So I got this like plastic thing that lets you connect your drone to this. And I thought this is going to be a way better monitor than my iPhone is. And I mean, indeed it is. So we're going to play around with this real quick, see how it works. So let's, yeah. So today I'm working on painting. So this is like the storage room that I have. And I painted that wall before I put the shelves and stuff up. It's the same gray that I have in the other side of the garage. So I took the cabinets down today. They're sitting there on the ground. I'm gonna paint this and just try to get through this wall. I've got a bunch of holes that I have to fill in that are concrete, so I'm gonna have to let that dry, but I at least want to get the top half so that I can hang the cabinets back up. So got this painted, just waiting for it to dry. You can see there's a couple wet spots there. We'll get the cabinets hung back up, and then kind of slowly going to work my way around. Probably do this on a different day, just because there's a bunch of things that need to be moved in order to kind of complete this. Ideally, you could just empty the room. I ordered 2 more shelves. These shelves, I ordered 2 more. I'm going to do another row up above. I'm probably going to move the built handler and the Koch Chemie stuff up because I still have a couple more lines of products. I'm going to end up keeping some bottles of each of them. Just want a little bit more space so that, you know, my workbenches aren't covered with bottles all the time. I tested out Labro Cosmetica HydroSafe today, which is their rinseless. That worked well. So I'm working on replacing some of these sprinkler valves. So I have like 7 of them, 8 of them, 7 of them on that side of the house. And what I'm running into is I had 2 of them that are leaking. I had one that wasn't activating properly. They've all been installed for, 15 years at this point. The houses were built in like 2010. So maybe, I don't know, 13, 14 years. And I've just decided to replace them all for a couple of reasons. Number one, they're not that expensive. One of those valves is like $25. You end up needing a couple fittings and stuff like that, but you have to like dig up around them and, deal with access to the pipes and, some other stuff that kind of just makes it simpler to I'm just going to do it. Then I know it's done and I don't have to worry about it. Like I said, right now I've got 2 of them that are leaking, and our water is super expensive. So, I mean, just having one of those leaking for a month could probably pay for replacing all of them. So I've ordered 4 so far. I'm just doing, a couple here and there every month. So basically what you have to do, there's 2 pipes that come out of the ground. These have threaded 1 inch, and the pipe is 1 inch as well, which is glued into this. So you end up getting these, screwing in one of these nipples is a 1 inch adapter, and then kind of cutting the pipe off and maybe either installing it directly on the pipe if the pipes are tall enough and you have enough room, or using one of these couplers so that you end up just extending the pipe down to the pipe where it actually is. So you take 2 of these fittings, put some Teflon tape on them. You just watch me wrap the one. We'll wrap the other here. Whenever you're doing Teflon tape, first off, only do Teflon on things that don't have O-rings. If it has an O-ring, then it shouldn't need Teflon. That's just kind of a general rule of thumb. There might be some minor exceptions to that rule, and then you always do it, like if you're looking at the thread this way, you do it in a clockwise fashion. And that's so that when you're screwing it in, it actually tightens the Teflon instead of like pushing it off. So take one of these. And then we'll screw this in. So we'll just tighten these up. As tight as we can. Now, it might seem like I'm getting a little bit excessive with the tightness here, and maybe to a degree I am, but what happens is eventually this will break down, and the ones that I have out there are starting to leak. And the problem is that you can't tighten them up later, right? Because this pipe is glued onto the pipe that's below it, you can't actually twist that. There's no thread on the other end, right? So you just end up with like this, this section that you can't tighten. Now you could add something called a union, which is basically just a piece of pipe that is glued on both ends that has like a threaded center section. And that does have the ability to deal with that. But unions can get, you know, they're $4 or $5, and I don't need one per se. So, you know, why bother doing all that? All right. So here you can see what I'm talking about. Those two are the ones that I've already replaced. Like this one isn't really going to be able to be replaced again. There just isn't enough pipe left, which maybe that was a bad decision, but I'll have to dig deeper next time. But hopefully, I mean, these last ones lasted 15 years. Hopefully I won't even be here next time. So I have a different water valve that shuts all of this off. So I've already shut these off. So what I'll do here on this one, I will just cut this off flat here and replace it right where it sits. This one though, you can see that this one's much lower. So here, I'll cut this off here and I'll extend it with a piece of pipe. So let's do this one first. Should be relatively easy. I've got a metal blade on a Sawzall. Kind of right through it. There we are. Very simple. Get all of the plastic grit and crap out of there. Then we'll when you're gluing pipes together, you're supposed to use a primer. I'm out of primer, so I'm going to just use regular glue. I've done both. I've had good luck with not using primer before. The right way would be to use primer though. But I think we'll be fine. And if it leaks, I'll be able to see it. It's not going to cause like a flood in my house. It's an outside thing. So that new one is now installed, and we can go here and find where our wires connect and rewire these. This time we're going to install these couplers. So glue the inside of that. That. And then we have a piece of pipe here. So we'll just take this and we'll cut, you know, two pieces that are about the same size. And we like to just kind of do a ring like that around the bottom. Now we have to start working on the wiring pieces. And kind of like I was saying at the beginning, these are serviceable, they're repairable, you can buy parts for them. They're also like $20. So there's just you know, some things are worth fixing, some things maybe aren't. So we'll take this wire here, wire these together. On these, the polarity doesn't matter. There's no positive or negative. It's an AC or alternating current, just like your house wiring. So I have these solder weatherproof connectors. Poked myself in the thumb. You're never really those weatherproof connectors, and then what you end up doing is taking like a lighter or a heat gun, and we'll just kind of melt this all the way around. And the blue is like a sealing agent, and then the silver in the middle is solder. that gives you like a weatherproof connection along with solder to keep your wires together. These things are pretty useful. They work fairly well and they're inexpensive. I'll put a link in the description. You can get them from Amazon. So I'll probably swap out these last two and then just kind of leave this one at the end alone because it's different, but we'll see when I dig down what I actually uncover here. All right, so it's been long enough. We turned the water on. Can test these out. Hear that working? So that one will be next. We'll cut it down here and we'll do it just like we did this one. And then we'll replace this guy as well. So that's that. I don't really love plumbing, but it's not that hard. It's something that you can do yourself and save some money, especially this stuff out in the yard. It's fairly easy and straightforward. All right, so my fans came from DigiKey. Got the box right there. Great packaging. They're a good company, honestly. So here's the replacement fan. There's the replacement. Here's one of the originals, so you can kind of see the same footprint. Now I already replaced one of them. I replaced this guy over here. This one I'm going to do on camera just to show you how it works. So we removed our screws from the back. I just want to show you kind of the difference between one and the other. So let me power this up. You should be able to hear that on camera. It's blowing this direction away from the camera. So what you're hearing is the sound of the bearing and everything there. And here's the other one. Now, if I stop this fan, hear the difference? You really can't hear anything at all. So, what we're going to do is we're going to replace this fan on this side with the new one, and we're going to replace the metal guard that's kind of all rusty, so you can see with this. The metal guard is, you don't really have to do that, but it's like $1. I'm just going to clip these two wires. We'll pull this fan out. There's like a piece of glue that was sticking the wire to the ground. So that's the old one out. Got the new one in. Now on these fans, the way the sticker is, typically it blows towards the sticker. If you reverse the polarity on the fan, you can reverse the direction that it's spinning, of course. So like if you connected the black to the red and the red to the black, you could make it spin in reverse on most DC or direct current fans, which is what these are, 12 volt DC. And we'll push this wire down here below all of that stuff. Okay, so we'll attach this, and we've got our screws. So these are the original screws. They're just black, like a coarse thread Phillips screw. And we'll put these in. So now we've got these red and black wires. These are heat shrink solder connectors, which I showed you those when I was outside working on the sprinklers, actually. So let's remove this little zip tie here, give us some more wire to work with. And we're going to strip these two wires back. And then I made those a little too long. Be careful not to get any of those little pieces of wire inside this case because you'll cause a short. And then we'll basically just twist these two wires together. Like that, kind of head on. And we'll slip this little thing here over the connector. So basically what you want is the white to be on the insulation, the white to be on the insulation, and the silver to be on the actual wire. All right, so now we can turn this on, make sure it works. Both fans are on, both fans are silent. Let this cool down a little bit. One thing that you can do with these to make them a little bit neater / safer is to stagger them. So like if you you have these two butt connectors and you put like one here and one back here so that way they can't hit each other. That can be a little bit cleaner of a way to do it. Grab a zip tie. You should definitely have the amplifier off during this part because you're we're just close to a bunch of stuff, right? So, do one there. I think these might be my favorite diagonal cutting pliers. I don't know. I had Snap-ons for a long time. The 86CF is the part number. I only know that because I had to reorder them like 15 times because I kept losing them and leaving them in people's cars and stuff like that. But 86CF, that's the part number. They're short like these. What I like about these are the Sonic ones, is they have the stay on the handle, like this piece here that your hand goes underneath. So when you're cutting stuff, it's just, I don't know, it's kind of easy to grab and get it exactly where you want your hand to be. So I just think they're my favorite that I've ever had. So I haven't tried everything, but I've had Irwin. I've had, which are like the Vice Grip brand ones. I've had Tecton. I've had a lot of the lower end brands like Stanley, Black & Decker, you know, things like that. I've had, I mean, right now I have Sonic, Icon. I've had those, the Snap-on ones. Yeah, a bunch of others. So I think these are my favorite. They're made by NWS, so I mean they're labeled Sonic, but they're really an NWS tool. Which Snap-on doesn't really make a lot of their own stuff. They have it made for them. I think the difference is that Sonic doesn't hide who's making it for them. I don't know. I don't really have anything against Snap-on. I used their tools for a long time, made good money, and enjoyed using them. So here we are. This is basically silent now. This is awesome. So we're just gonna put these screws in. You can see the cage here has, or the chassis has some wear here from sliding in and out of racks, but it's fairly normal. These fans are pretty simple. They're just 12 volt DC, so there's a positive and a negative. They only spin one direction. I mean, they'll obviously spin the opposite direction if you power them up the wrong way. They don't have any sort of like temperature control or adjustable speed or anything like that. There's no PWM control or anything like a computer fan would have. This is an 80mm fan. That's a pretty standard size for a computer, desktop computer. So you could definitely steal some of these out of a computer if you needed to. Those are going to be louder. They'll probably move a little bit more air than these do. These only move like, I think it was like 45 CFM, which isn't a ton of air. But you'll see there's like an arrow on the top. It shows what way it blows. Normally, I just remember it always blows towards the sticker. And then, yeah, that's pretty much it. So it's pulling in air from the back and pushing it through the front. You can definitely feel the air move across the front of it. And this will be perfectly fine for what I'm doing here. Now honestly, well, I didn't reduce the airflow in this thing at all. So I went from 45 CFM to 46 CFM or something like that. Like I'm moving the same amount of air that I was, which is really all that matters. When I did my QSC amp, I did lower the amount of airflow there a little bit, but I'm also not driving it nearly as hard as those amps are designed. You know, they're made for 2 ohm speakers. They're made for 4 ohm bridged mono subwoofer. They're made for, you know, like really demanding speaker loads, being, you know, playing for a concert for 3, 4, 5 hours and, you know, running at full tilts the entire time at, you know, crazy high volumes and stuff. And it's like, I'm not doing any of that here. So these are kind of cool. They've got a lot of headroom, a lot of options, a lot of manufacturers. You know, my favorite are Crown and QSC. They've both been around for a long time. QSC is actually, they're based in San Luis Obispo, which is about 30 minutes away from me. So, you know, they're kind of a local-ish company to me. They don't manufacture their products here, but they do design work here. So this is what they call a speak-on connector. It has 4 pins in it. You can see the 1 plus 1 minus, 2 plus 2 minus, so you can actually have two different speakers connected to this. But it pushes in, it turns, and then this locks into place. And then to disconnect it, you pull this out, and you pull it out like that. So it's a quick connect style connector, and it can be used to drive, you know, like a bi-amp speaker or a bi-wired speaker, or in this case, 2 different channels at the same time. So you can actually run like A and C, or sorry, A and B off of here, and C and D off of here if you want to. So I'm just going to use these as individual speakers. So I'll be using 1 minus 1 plus, 1 minus 1 plus on all 4 of them. And then over here, what I'm going to do, so I'm going to have 2 channels in and then 4 speakers out. So groups A and B will be my speakers in the ceiling, those guys up there. And then C and D will be the speakers that are in the room over there. So I'll set these to full range, like that. And then we will put these in mono. And basically what will happen is input A will feed A and C. No. Input A will feed A and B, and input C will feed C and D. So I will make left, right, left, left, right, right. So this will be 1 pair of speakers, this will be another pair of speakers. And with these quick connectors, it's kind of nice, because even if you screw that up, like if you set this up so that it's one of those connectors, and you're like, oh crap, it should actually be these 2 and not these 2, you could just turn it out, put it in the other one. It's like very easy to do, super easy. So that's all. We unscrew this black plastic piece. Stick that through there. Cut those off. And then these are labeled, so 1 plus, 1 minus, and there's a 2 and a 2. So we'll screw in the 2s because we're not using those. So this one is the plus. Tighten that up. Pretty simple. So now we're going to plug these into the amp. All right, we're all set. We're using the NU4 6000 of New Behringer. Another really busy week. I'm having trouble getting videos done because of my actual job. So first off, new sprinklers. These are Melnor sprinklers. I've used Melnor in the past, and this side yard is a mess because we're redoing some bushes and stuff, but I always had problems with these hitting the house, and I got new ones, and these actually have adjustment that you can go super narrow. So that strip right there is like 6 feet, and it doesn't, like, it barely hits the concrete on both sides. Super nice. So like I said, working on a bunch of different things. There was a plant that we removed from there that was kind of getting to the side of the house. I've got to remulch a lot of this, so just a bunch of cleanup work that I've been working on. Check this out. So in the shed, I talked before about my thing. Did you notice that my lights just turned on by themselves? So I added this. This is a motion sensor. This motion sensor automatically detects motion. It's 12 volts. It's got an in and an out. So this is my in, these are the out. And it, when it detects motion, it turns on, and then when it detects there's no motion for a certain length of time, it shuts off. And there's an adjuster on here. You can set it for a minute or 10 minutes, you know, kind of whatever you want. So you might notice that these LEDs are different. And these are from a company online, Super Bright LEDs. These are 4,000 Kelvin, and they are actually magnetic, but I have them screwed on. But these are 12 volt LEDs. So I no longer need the inverter. And the cool part about not needing the inverter is that the inverter it uses a lot more power. It's not efficient, right? Because when you're taking 12 volts to turn into 120 volts to then power LEDs, which are actually DC by design, you end up wasting a lot of power. So these lights are 12 volt lights. They're now wired directly into that, and that's pretty much it. They're just good to go. So I still have to clean this up a little bit, but we've got my controller, and then out of the controller directly into this, and they're just kind of wired back to the battery, basically. So this is the feed that goes to the battery. The battery still has a fuse on it, like I showed you before. It's right there. And then this just automatically comes on when you go in here, and then when you shut the door, it automatically shuts off after a certain length of time. So I'll play around with this a little bit. Like, I want to jump in there first thing in the morning and see, you know, is my battery dead? Or something along those lines. I played around with a couple of the amps trying to figure out what I want. So I have another set of shelves. So I got 2 more shelves to go up above these. So I'm going to put up another row of shelves across the top. We're going to put some bottles on those. So I'm going to hang those here kind of on camera, and we'll play around with them a little bit. I showed these before when I received them. Well, the last set, they're the same ones. So I just unwrapped them. They came wrapped in that plastic again. So we'll kind of put them up and go from there. First off, I think I'm in a better place now to talk about the shelves and the quality and compare them against the OG shelves and some of the other stuff that I didn't do originally. So let's chat a little bit. So the Obsessed Garage shelves, which are behind me, and I've shown them on camera before. I've had those for a number of years, and they're T304 stainless. They're very nice. I don't have any problems with them. I'm happy with them. But they are a little expensive, and you know, this was more of a, we'll say, display shelf and less of a working shelf. And these ones are significantly less expensive, so I thought that it might be a good shot to try them, and even if they weren't perfect, they would do perfectly fine for what I want to do here. So this was kind of a good enough garage, right? So what did I learn? Well, the quality on these is okay. They are, like I said, 304 stainless. They do seem to be durable. They've got a nice rolled edge. They've got a good appearance. They're relatively clean, easy to keep clean, etc. But I think the difference is pretty apparent once you start stacking stuff up on them and once you're hanging them. So we'll see that like those shelves are flat. They are like, you could use them as a straight edge. They are just incredibly flat. These, on the other hand, have a little wonk to them. You can see that like my level doesn't sit exactly flat here, so you kind of have to like just slightly lift up on this side or down on the other side, you know, etc. So there's like, it's just a little bit of jank, right? So that's like one thing that you end up having to deal with here. They're just, you know, these are 2/3 the price, and they're not exactly the same quality in terms of the, so there's like a little bit of bending that you have to do to get this to be flat, but they do work. Now, they don't have that back lip, and I think that that missing L is what makes them not exactly flat. These not being removable can be problematic if you're trying to put, you know, a lot of weight on them, because obviously it leads to, you can't put these in studs, right? They just are where they are. Now this wall actually doesn't matter because it's 3/4 inch drywall and behind it is plywood. So that one's really not that important, but you can see we've got our shelf there and our shelf here. That worked well. So I just kind of hung this off the side, measured to 12 1/4, which is the distance that I have between top to top. And then, you know, there I am. So I think these are fine as a display shelf. You know, they're 85 bucks a piece. So those are like 125 bucks a piece. They're 2/3 the cost. But, you know, they're not perfectly straight. They're not adjustable. They're just not quite as nice. You know, they're just a little bit less. But, you know, all in all, I think they work reasonably well, especially for the cost. I think they're a decent value. All right, so kind of like the last one, next I'm just gonna take one of these pearl applicators. We're gonna use some Dr. Beasley's metal coats. We're gonna just go over this. Gonna keep stuff from sticking to it and clean up some of the handprints and things that I put on it. If you don't have this, there's other stuff you can use. A lot of stainless steel cleaners have a little bit of protection that they leave behind as well. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean this up. I'm gonna move everything up one slot. I'm gonna do this one as well because I was kind of in here working, and then we'll just leave the bottom how it is. So we'll apply this, we'll give it a minute, and then we'll buff it off. Stuff works pretty well. The big thing with stainless is just the oils on your hands. It's not hard to accidentally make a stain on your stainless. Like I mentioned last time, these are 48 inch by 48 inch by 5 inch deep, which I think is a good size for kind of what I'm doing here, like a display of products. And these products will get used here and there. You know, none of these are bad. They all worked reasonably well. The stuff that I really didn't like, I throw away or give away. Typically try to give them away. I'm giving Eric a lot of bottles over the years. Some things that I like, some things that I don't like, you know, because for somebody who maybe doesn't have much in the way of cleaning supplies, something is better than nothing. Besides P1 here, I've never really had a product that I use that I never want to use again. And even with that, the P1, like, there is a possibility that that's on me, or an issue with compatibility with OG drying aid or something else that I had on my car. So I do need to like give that a second try before I just condemn it. So I'll try it on the other Mini, the gray Mini, at some point here, because that doesn't have any drying aid on it, any protection on it. So just getting the underside here, just kind of all the places that I touched. You've got moisture in your hands, and that can over time kind of etch the stainless and leave it just not as clean and shiny as you would like it to be. And sometimes those fingerprints can be really hard to get off if you leave them on there for a while. So just go through this. Picked up a new Milwaukee level. I've had a Cobalt one for quite a while, but the end caps are kind of messed up on it. And if your level isn't level, then like, what's the point of using it, right? So pick that up. I do try every time I'm doing a project to pick up a new tool, just so that over time my collection and capabilities grow, especially when I'm doing a project that I would normally pay somebody else to do, like plumbing or something like that. I just look at it as like, I don't know, it's like a reward to myself for putting the effort in to do something that I could have paid somebody else to do. My time is valuable, so I don't like to waste it, but I do like doing this kind of stuff. I do like working around the house. I do like, you know, a lot of this stuff. So let me grab the Kosh Chemi and the belt handler stuff. All right, so there you can see everything. So I think that'll work, at least for now. We'll go through some of those chemicals, you know, everything on that second shelf I've never even used. We'll work through some more.